Hey, what's up, everybody? Isaac back here with my new channel, The Unorthodox Social Worker, where we do talk all things social work from an unorthodox perspective. So, if you want to know some more background about myself, please check out one of my first two videos. In those videos, I do give a little bit more background information on myself, and we do talk about some good topics. Today, we are talking about um, burnout, and as that pertains to your job as a social worker. And I kind of intentionally am going in order with certain topics. The first one being, do you need an MSW? The second video being um, knowing about confidentiality. And I think the third thing that people getting into the field should really be conscious of is burnout, mental health, because it is real. So when we're talking about burnout, what are we talking about? We're basically just talking about, you're working very hard, and it gets to the point where your work and the stress from work and all of that is starting to affect perhaps your own mental health, your own personal life. Basically, when the stress from your work begins to interfere with life outside of your work. So that's kind of what we mean by burnout, and trust me, in this field, this is a high burnout field in social work. So what are some of the signs that you know that you may be burnt out, be stressed out? I mean, of course, you can just kind of know that you are burnt out. People kind of know that. But other signs are kind of just not doing things you normally do. So let's say you were kind of like a neat and tidy person. You were the type of person to handle your business, clean up, do the dishes, and other things like that. If you notice that you are not doing those things, if you're the type of person to make your bed in the morning, cook yourself meals, and you notice, oh, my bed is unmade, perhaps the dishes are piled up, um, that may be a sign that you are burnt out. Um, Other things, this is something I struggle with, is if you notice after work that you isolate yourself. Perhaps you go back home to your roommates, your family, whatnot, your significant other, and you notice that you kind of just want to be by yourself and not interact with anybody. And especially if you are a social person, this is a big sign that you may be burnt out. This is something I definitely struggle with. A lot of times at the end of a stressful work day, I just kind of want to be by myself and not deal with anybody, because I'm kind of relating talking to people all day at work with talking with the people you would normally speak with on a daily basis. So isolation is a big one. Another one, of course, is substance abuse. If you notice, maybe some people, maybe they drink or do whatever, but if you notice that you are drinking more than you normally would to deal with the stress from work, or you are just at work thinking about, man, I gotta go get a drink, this is too stressful, that could be a sign that you are, in fact, burnt out. I used to I'm not really a drinker, but, at one point I remember a few years back, I noticed I was drinking a beer every day. And that had gone on for, I don't know, a few weeks, a month or so. And even though I was only drinking one a day, I noticed, man, why am I drinking every day? So I had to put myself in check and put a stop to that behavior and minimize the drinking. But like I said, I'm not really a drinker. Okay, next part. What is another sign that you may have burnout? That you're not taking care of yourself. That you are not doing things you normally like to do. I like to play music a lot. So that's my passion. If I notice that I'm really not doing any music or participating in any activities or fun social gatherings that I would usually be really passionate about, and you're kind of avoiding stuff like that, that could be a sign that you could be burnt out as well. Now, I'll give you an example. One of my old co-workers, he probably will know who he is if he's watching this. But he did do a great training on burnout 1 year. And he talked about basically, um, he gave everybody in the training, this guy makes colognes and stuff like that, and incense and scents and things like that. He gave everybody a bottle of an incense he made, but he put different categories on it, such as sleep, eat, clean. And then I remember the bottle he gave me said eat. And then he said, anybody, look at what you got on your bottle. This topic will have to do with your self-care. Do you, in fact, take care of whatever this issue is that is pasted on your bottle? Mine was eat. And at that point, after years of doing social work, I realized that I really wasn't taking lunch breaks at all. I was kind of just trying to get my work done because of the high workload and all that. And it made me realize the importance of taking care of yourself and eating. So do make sure to take your breaks throughout the day. You are entitled to your breaks. Make sure to take that time to take your lunch break. Stop your work, because if you do not take the time to take care of yourself, take breaks, eat, and all that, you will become burnt out. Okay? And one of the, big epiphanies I had when I had my second child, I did take paternity leave, so I believe, I don't think you can federally, but here in California, you are able to take paternity leave. So I took my little 6 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever I had off, for my paternity leave, man, and I was realizing how relaxed I was, how not stressed out I was, because I didn't have to deal with work. And when I did actually report back to work, I did take note of how much better I was feeling due to the less amount of stress I was dealing with related to work. So I made a conscious effort when I went back to work after paternity leave that I would try to focus on my own well-being. I would put that priority in front of my clients, because how are you going to help your clients out if you are not put together yourself? Okay, some tips for how to avoid burnout. We will go over this. So, just in general, like I was talking before, take care of yourself. Shower every day. Cook for yourself. Clean. If you think you're sick, go to the doctor. If you think you're sick, don't go to work. You could get other people sick. But really just take care of yourself. Do what you like to do. Whatever it is that you like to do for fun, make sure that you do participate in those activities, and make sure that you do take care of yourself and please yourself, because you do need to take care of yourself. Other things, besides relieving stress with fun activities you like to do, you might want to try stuff maybe like exercise, yoga, meditation, stretching, banging on the drums, whatever. These are all activities that will relieve stress and actually build up, endorphins, the happy chemicals in your brain. And I do try to exercise at least 3 times a week, ideally every day. But in my experience, exercise is a great way to relieve stress and to avoid burnout. It's kind of like you're taking all that stress from your job and you are able to release it in a healthy and productive manner. And next one, don't be afraid to ask for help, to ask for support. If you have a lot of work, of course, prioritizing and organizing is going to help you be less stressed out. So be organized. But if you do need help, ask another coworker. Don't feel like you have to do everything yourself. And on another note, let's say you and a coworker share the office. You do have the same job, and you're dealing with a client that's really stressing you out, and perhaps you guys just don't get along. At that point, it might be necessary for you to reach out to your coworker and let your client know, hey, maybe it looks like we're not getting along. We're not being very productive. Would you want to work with this other worker instead of me? Because maybe your guys' personalities may match better. So that's kind of an example of asking for help. If things aren't working out, look for other alternatives rather than stress yourself out. Okay. Next, another strategy for avoiding burnout. When we do come into social work early in our career, of course, we are very ambitious. Some people might want to save the world, and that's their mission. And they might want to do everything for the client, work as hard as they can, get their feet wet in the field. But please make sure you're not doing everything for the client. That will stress you out. If you are applying for everything for your client, if you're filling out all their rental applications, if you're filling out their SSI application, if you're setting all their appointments for them, if you're kind of just doing everything for them and not letting the client do anything themselves, first off, you're doing more work than you should be doing. You will burn yourself out, and additionally, that will not be beneficial for the client. Just think about it. If you're doing everything for your client, the next time that they do experience an issue, roadblock, hardship, whatever, by the fact that you did everything for them, the last time, you have not taught them the skills to be able to sustain their own life, to able to be stable. Let's say you're housing a homeless person and you did everything to get that person in the home. The next time they may become homeless, because you did everything for them, they're not going to have the experience of filling out the rental application, calling the landlord, and so forth and so on. So by you doing everything for your client, you are actually doing them a disservice. You're kind of setting them up for failure. So remember that, please. Put some accountability on the client to do some of the tasks. Don't do them all yourself. It's bad for the client, and you will burn yourself out. No question. Next thing is know your triggers. Know what kind of and also not only know your triggers, but check your mood. We're all human. We're not perfect. Some days we have good days. Some days we have bad days. You might notice that some days you're having a bad day, and on that same day you're visiting a client, that client is having a bad day too. So that's probably not a good combination. If the caseworker and the client are both having a bad day, realize that, because you could prevent an explosive situation from erupting and going any further. Or perhaps if you notice that your client is having a bad day and they're not able or in the right mind state to meet that day, perhaps saying, it looks like you're angry, you don't want to be here today, perhaps we could reschedule, something like that. Don't be scared to reschedule, and set something for a more appropriate time for both of you to meet. And that goes into knowing your triggers. If you know certain people's personality characteristics or traits or whatever, or if they remind you of someone in the past that triggered you, be conscious of that, because then that will stop you from reacting so harshly, just by you knowing that you're conscious of your triggers. Okay, and then also be conscious not to inherit your client's trauma. You'll be dealing with people in social work who have experienced major trauma and crisis. So if you don't do those things like work out, treat yourself, do what you like to do, clean up, take care of yourself, then that trauma will transfer to you. If you don't know to really shut that off when you go home, then you will be thinking about your client's trauma after work, and that will affect your personal life. So please be conscious that their trauma is not your trauma, and do not inherit that into your own life. It's very unhealthy for you. It's unfair to your roommates, your neighbors, your family, when you are starting to inherit some of your client's trauma. Next part, don't be ashamed to admit you have a problem. If you do notice, your life getting a little bit out of whack, then don't be scared to go to the doctor. Take a day off. Take a vacation. Seek professional help. A lot of organizations, they will have like a X amount of like counseling sessions that they will pay for you to go to, and that information will be confidential and not released to the rest of your staff. So you can go if you feel like you're having mental health issues, burnout issues due to the work you are doing. Please reach out and have some counseling. There's no shame in that. And like I said, the companies usually offer some type of counseling. And again, you know, you can't save the whole world, all right, people? I know a lot of social workers want to save the world, but you have to be conscious that you cannot solve all of the world's problems. And by the fact of you trying to encounter everything head on and solve every problem, that will burn you out. In the short term, of course, maybe that you'll get more work done, but in the long term, the quicker you burn yourself out, then that decreases your ability to be as effective as possible with all your clients in the future. Okay, so you remember, and it goes to the philosophy again that how can you help somebody if you're not straight yourself? And never put yourself regarding this above a client. Like, oh, this client may have substance abuse problems. This client may have financial problems, mental health problems, whatever. Don't put yourself above that person and think that you could never be in that situation, because a lot of us social workers are probably one paycheck away from being homeless ourselves. Or we could perhaps go through some type of traumatic experience outside of work that would damage our mental health, finances, and put us in the position where maybe we would be seeking social services. I have met a lot of clients in the past with good educations, masters, and all that, and later on in their life, they did become homeless, or they did need to seek social services. I've even had to get food stamps before. But remember, we're all humans. Do not let that trauma transfer over to you. And don't forget that any of these things that are happening to your clients, you are not better than them. The same things or the worst things can happen to you. So never put yourself morally, like you're morally put to better or more well put together to a client than a client, because anything can happen to anybody. And then you may be the one receiving social services and telling your case manager, man, I used to be a case manager, and then I got burnt out, something crazy happened, and I couldn't have a stable life. So again, please everybody, mental health, burnout, and social work is real. When you are starting your career, be conscious of this. Take care of yourself. Do what you love to do. Don't equate your work as a social worker as your life. Be interested in other stuff besides your job. Be passionate about other things. You are more than your work. And remember to treat yourself well. Alrighty then, that is the video for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good one.